So we had a leadership campaign hustings the other night, 90 minutes of brilliant questions about issues that Liberal Democrats are passionate about, me included. But one area that I was staggered did not come up was that of foreign affairs. Now, I'm the foreign affairs spokesperson for the party, and I was all the way through the election. I'm passionate about foreign affairs, and I'm an internationalist to my fingertips, so it matters to me, and so I'm just going to spend the next 3 minutes talking about the issue. And I hope you'll see that to all of us who are liberals, freedoms and rights, peace and security and environmental protection across our planet should matter to all of us wherever we're sat, whichever country we're sat in. Liberals don't recognise borders the way that nationalists do. We are, if you like, the antidote to nationalism in our country, and we should be proud to be so. But it's also massively important to our party. If you look back through history, what was one of the greatest recruiting sergeants for the Liberal Party, the SDP, the Liberal Democrats, has been our position, our absolutely wonderful principal positions on foreign affairs issues. So let's just start with Joe Grimmond, taking the right side on the Suez crisis against the Conservative government with Labour support. It was, of course, David Steele who led in the United Kingdom the anti-apartheid movement and led to the boycotts that took place that helped to bring an end to apartheid all those years later. You look at Paddy Ashdown, who was the one person who led the calls for intervention in Kosovo to prevent a genocide, which led to Tony Blair changing his mind, which led to Bill Clinton changing his mind, and led to thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives being saved. And of course, more recently, the stance that Charles Kennedy rightly took in defending our opposition to the Iraq War, and Nick Clegg's more recent opposition to the UKIP and Tory-inspired negativity towards our place in the world. So look, this is where the Liberal Democrats have been at our strongest in the past. And when you heard any one of our past leaders talking proudly about our position on international affairs, if you heard them on the Today programme in the morning, the hairs on the back of your neck stood on end. You were proud to be a Liberal Democrat. That's what I want to happen again. Now, we don't know what the next big issue might be, but we've got plenty in front of us now. And as the nationalists in our country, whether they wrap themselves in the Union Jack or the Saltire, when they focus on narrow, divisive issues internally, let's look for inclusive issues internationally. What is the cause of migration? What is the reason that so much migration takes place in this world? And much of it is great and we should celebrate it. Some of it is caused by persecution, by war, by climate change. And if we want to prevent the refugee status that hundreds of thousands of people on our planet are experiencing at the moment, the answer is to involve ourselves in the communities, in those countries, in a way which will be revolutionary. We have the best, the most impressive ambassadorial diplomatic corps on the planet. Let's make use of them to spot problems, conflicts, potential persecutions in advance and prevent those problems happening in the first place. Let's take the lead across the planet in fighting climate change. It's not an esoteric matter for Guardian readers. It should affect all of us, everybody. You know, hundreds of millions of people having to be moved because they're displaced because of climate change. Well, goodness, that's an issue that affects every single human being. So making sure we work together to tackle climate change in constructive ways right around the planet absolutely matters. And when it comes to persecution, that can lead to huge problems in terms of migration. But I tell you what, somebody else's rights, they're my rights too. And we need to stand up for the rights of everybody, whether it be in Israel, Palestine, whether it be in Nigeria, whether it be in southern Sudan, wherever it may be. We have to stand with the oppressed and the persecuted and call out those who stand idly by while evil things happen far away. And the big international issue that we know is going to be on everybody's lips over the next 5 years, especially over the next 2, is the European Union referendum. And we, if it's anything to do with me, are going to take the lead in the Yes campaign to make sure we remain members of the European Union. But we're going to do it in a way that resonates with the electorate. We've got to not just talk to ourselves on this issue, we have to talk to everybody out there and make it clear to everyone that being in the European Union, yes, it's really important for jobs, critically important for making sure that we keep ourselves safe with police working across the whole of the European Union. Wonderfully effective when it comes to tackling climate change. But you know what? I'm going to say that the European Union is probably the world's most successful and effective peace process over the last several decades. And we need to see with real passion as we commemorate 70 years since the end of the Second World War, that the thing that has kept Europe together and not at each other's throats for the majority of those decades has been the fact that we are locked together in a union that makes sure that it is ludicrous to even contemplate going to war. Round those tables that the European ministers sit around, there are 5 or 6 ministers sharing that table, coming from countries that maybe 25 years ago had nuclear weapons on their soil pointed right at us. And now, well, we're just arguing the toss about fishing quotas instead, aren't we? I tell you what, that is progress. We have to get people in their gut and help them to understand that being in the EU is something that is a right and patriotic thing to do for Britain, but also a decent thing for people across the world, not just in Europe. And you know what? When it comes to talking about international issues, we need to remember that for us, there is self-interest here, because we believe passionately in internationalism. But you know what? I also believe passionately in making sure the Liberal Democrats survive and thrive and are rebuilt under my leadership. And so we will use those international issues to recruit people, to inspire people, so that people turn on their radio, on their TVs, open their papers and see the Liberal Democrats led by somebody who's passionate about those issues, just as they are. And in the same way that Grimond and Steele and Ashdown and Kennedy and Clegg did those things in the past, I want to do the same today. Let's make sure that our passion for foreign affairs, our passion for fairness across the planet, is something that recruits tens of thousands of decent people to our party, turning Liberals into Liberal Democrats, so that we can turn Liberal Democrats into winners.